Back at it again with another vlog.
Back at it again with another vlog here with Sandra. Black girl, white girl. That backwards. White girl, black girl.
Okay, y'all, we are back for part 2. Okay, part 2 is all about transitioning into medical school and how that was for Brandon. So yeah, first of all, tell me about how interviews went. How did med school interviews go?
Med school interviews were pretty cool. Your basic generic stuff like, why do you want to become a doctor? And I guarantee you, no matter what you say, they will have heard it before. So one strategy that I used when they asked me that question, I didn't let my words do the talking. I let my nonverbal communication and my enthusiasm do the talking for me. So I would get super excited, like, man, this is my favorite question in the world. But in my mind, I was like, are you serious with this question again? But I could see that I really engaged them when I did it. Like, I would sit up, I'd be like, oh, why do I want to become a doctor? Like, man, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just smiling and just trying to show them how happy I am that I'm going to be entering into this profession potentially. So that's a little piece of advice I have.
So it's your first year of medical school, fresh out of college, no gap year. You went from studying to studying some more. How was that transition for you?
The transition was tough, but I feel like I mentally prepared myself for it, so it wasn't a shock to me. I had heard all these horror stories about med school, and a lot of y'all have heard about the whole drinking from a fire hydrant with the straw analogy. And I was just like, bro, how am I gonna drink out of a fire hydrant with just one straw? Can I have 2 straws at least? And I was just so scared about it. But ultimately I buckled down, I worked hard, and things worked out in my favor. That's one thing. Always remember that. Hard work will always prevail beyond any type of knowledge that you might have. Work hard and you will succeed. I've seen many people in medical school, geniuses. I'm talking just brilliant minds, but they don't have the work ethic and they end up failing or dropping multiple classes because of it. But those people who are willing to put in that work, those are the ones that end up persevering.
So I know that you are a hard worker. I've seen that firsthand. But were there any times where things just got a little bit overwhelming, things just got a little hard, and if you did have those times where you were like just struggling or like 2 seconds away from crumbling, how did you handle it?
Yeah, those moments are going to happen. You are going to feel overwhelmed. You are going to feel stressed out. You are going to feel like, man, do I even deserve to be here? And that was one of the biggest things I struggled with early on in medical school. It's like, man, do I deserve to be here? Was this just luck? Like,
I think they call that imposter syndrome.
Yeah, definitely. It's called imposter syndrome. When I reach that point, for me, I have this thing I like to call pause. I just need a pause and just put everything to the side and just take a second to just decompress and just calm my mind and reassure myself why I'm here, what my qualifications were, and just go back to that mindset of hard work will prevail over anything. And despite feeling like I'm down, I know that if once I get myself back together, I put in the hard work, I'm gonna be successful. You just always have to remember that.
So let's talk a little bit about representation, because you know that's what Black Girl White Coat is about. You know, we want to see more people that look like us doing what we're doing and doing what our mentors are doing. So how do you feel about the representation of Black men in medicine, and what ways can we do to improve that, to increase, you know, the number of Black physicians that we're seeing and Black students we're seeing getting accepted into medical schools?
We need to do stuff like this, like initiatives like you yourself have started. Oh my gosh. You obviously know that there is an issue with representation within this specialty, within this field of practice, and we have to be proactive in our approach to show young African Americans, Africans, underrepresented minorities that you can do this. By seeing us, by seeing you, what you've done with this vlog, it just goes to show that I too can do it, you know? And we can't ever forget, despite how successful we become, where we once were. We always have to reach back and try to show the youth to show the undergrads, to show those people before us that y'all can make it. This is something that it can become a reality. This is not a far-fetched dream. And not stopping there, but also telling them that and then supporting them throughout the process. Supporting them through the whole journey and showing them that I'm going to be here to guide you throughout this process so that one day you can do the same thing until we increase this representation, because it's extremely important. It's really, really important that we are well represented within this specialty, not just for ourselves, but for our patients. Our patients want to see doctors that look like them, that they can relate to, that they can talk about things with, and feel like they're being understood, that they might not get that same sense of comfort and understanding from a physician that might not look like them. So we owe it not only to ourselves to reach our dreams, but we also owe it to our patients as well to provide them with the best care possible.
So that was great, you know, so mentorship is something that I really try to stress to people who ask me for advice. I always stress that it's important for us to have mentors and people to look up to, people to guide us through this whole process. And it's so easy for us to say, and a lot of us have had luck with it, but there are some people, I would have to say honestly, like myself, who have had trouble finding a good mentor, keeping a good mentor, and just having somebody that's going to be there to support them through the process from beginning to end. What's the best advice you can give us to like getting a mentor and, you know, building a lifelong or at least career-long relationship with somebody like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Everybody wants to be a mentor. We all want to do it. We're all initially willing to service those that are coming up in the future to take our shoes. But it's really hard to fall through with that when you factor in some of these individuals have families, they have students, they have multiple jobs. There's just so much for them to juggle, and then you come into the picture and now it's like they're trying to help you. So the first thing you have to do is just accept the fact that they might not always be the best with communication. Don't be discouraged. Don't take any offense to not getting emailed back or not getting a phone call back. You have to be persistent to a certain degree. If you don't get an email back, that's fine. Wait a week to send them another email. If you still don't hear back, that's fine. Wait a week or two, email them again. Now, if you reach a certain point where they're just straight up not responding to you, then it's time to move on and find a new mentor. But don't be discouraged throughout the process, because it's really difficult to find a good mentor, but once you find that individual, you will have somebody that can provide you with guidance for life. You, as the mentee, must know that you have to be the one that's more proactive, and that you are the one taking more initiative in the relationship, because it's oftentimes very difficult for the mentor to be the one who's being proactive with you when they have other people they're mentoring and they have a million other things on their plate.
Going back to med school, let's talk a little bit more about academics, and let's talk about what I am facing right now, which is step one. What advice can you give to some, because we do have some medical students who do watch this vlog. We have some that are in the Caribbeans that are going to come and take their step one here, you know, in the coming months. So what advice do you have for studying and getting through step one? And I'm listening really hard because I'm struggling right now.
So step one starts the day you walk into medical school. Contrary to popular belief, you don't start studying for step one when you start studying for step one. The day you step into medical school, you're already preparing for this exam. So for those of you who have recently been accepted to medical school or who are in your first year, just always keep that in mind. Study hard, build a strong foundation so that when it comes time to actually study for this exam, all you're having to do is apply the knowledge you already know to new situations and learn how to answer the questions, learn how to beat the test, if you will. One of the biggest pieces of advice, and you've heard this over and over again, is questions. You guys need to do as much questions as you can get your hands on. This exam isn't testing how much you can read from a book. It's testing how you can apply your knowledge to different clinical situations. And the only way you're going to know how to do that is by answering questions and taking the time to dissect those questions and figure out, why did I get the question wrong? Not only that, why did I get the question right? Why is this answer choice correct? Why are these answer choices wrong? What was the one key piece of information that would have resulted in me getting this right? What is the key piece of information that resulted in me getting this right? You have to be a detective. You really have to dig deep into these questions and figure out how they work. because there's so much information out there, and I promise you, this test does not want you to know all the information out there. That's not the purpose of step one. They don't want doctors who can just memorize everything. They want doctors who can understand important concepts and then apply them to different situations, because that's how it's going to be in real life.
All right, so that was great advice for step one. He was definitely preaching to me with that. But can you tell us a little bit more about, so there's step one, but then there's also 2 more steps. So can you tell us a little bit more about how that works and how that factors into like the timeline of medical school and matching and stuff like that?
Yeah, so there's step one, you take it and you guys all do great. You get like 240 pluses. You go to your #1 choice for residency.
Yes.
There's also step 2 CK, which is basically like, it's similar to step one in that it's multiple questions, except instead of 7 blocks, it's going to be 8 blocks. And you typically take this at the end of your 3rd year, and it's a requirement for most schools before you can graduate. And then step 2 CS is offered in, I believe, 5 cities in the country. And this is when you go and you meet with 12 different patients. You do a full visit, HPI, physical exam, and then you come up with differentials, you come up with a plan. And it's a very expensive test, so you really want to make sure that you're well prepared for it. Do not let anybody tell you that, oh, this is an easy exam, don't study it for it, just walk in there and take it, because you're gonna hear that. But when you put $1,000+ on the line, at least take a couple days, and like read. I recommend first aid front to back at least once. It's a super.
So really briefly, then we're gonna end out this part of the vlog, and then we'll go on to part 3. Tell us a little bit about life after step. So at our school, you take step 1 after 2nd year before you start 3rd year, and 3rd and 4th year are rotations for us. So what was rotations like? How did you go about that? And did you know what specialty you wanted to go into before starting rotations? And if you did not, how did rotations help shape your passion about a specific specialty?
Okay. So rotations are great. You spend the first 2 years or 1.5 years, wherever you go to medical school, just in the books, going to class. That's it, you know. And then you finally get out there and become a doctor, or learn how to become a doctor. And it's cool, you know. You're a part of a team. You're interacting with patients. You're thinking critically. You're applying all your knowledge. And it's great, because that's ultimately what you're going to be doing with your career. And you should go into all of them with an open mind. Don't approach a single one of them like, oh, I hate OB, because then your experience is going to be terrible. Go into it like, oh, you know, I'm going to learn about how women give birth. I'm going to learn about the reproductive cycle. I'm going to learn about gynecology. Just go into everything with an open mind, and you'll be surprised how much you can gain from it. For me, rotations really helped solidify that I wanted to become a surgeon. That's one of the biggest decisions that you're going to make is, do I want to operate or do I want to not operate? And for me, I wanted to operate. I love doing. Surgery was a no-brainer for me. So from there, I had to figure out, what type of surgery do I want to do? Do I like general surgery, doing gallbladders and appendectomies and bowel resections, or do I like orthopedic surgery, or do I like ear, nose, and throat, which is ultimately what I decided on. And for me, it came down to, what did I find the most interesting, and also taking the initiative to go and shadow. Because you'll be surprised. You learn things from a book. I actually thought that the anatomy of the head and neck region was the toughest anatomy that we went through.
Hands down.
And it really discouraged me early on, like whenever I was thinking about ENT. But when I got out there in shadow, I was like, man, this is actually super cool. Because right now we're just breathing normally, and there's no issues with it. Right now I'm talking to you normally, there's no issues with it. Right now I can hear myself. Sandra can hear me, there's no issues. But once one of those things goes wrong, it has a significant impact on your quality of life. And so to be able to have a impact in that area really drew me towards that area. And I didn't know that until I shadowed, because that's not in the books whenever you're learning about the hypoglossal nerve and the tongue and all the strap muscles and all that stuff, you know. So get out there, shadow. Getting that first-hand experience is ultimately one of the best things you can do. So on top of my rotations, I shadowed. So during Thanksgiving break, I shadowed. During Christmas break, I shadowed. During spring break, I shadowed. So I found the time to do it. During my psychiatry rotation, I shadowed because psychiatry, we were typically done like 10:30 or 11 a.m. So
a.m. That's good. I myself, for one, cannot wait till 3rd and 4th year. I feel like I would, like you, I need to be doing something. I need to be hands-on. I need to like see.
Future surgeon. Okay.
Not sure about that. But I'm super excited. Yeah, I'm super excited for 3rd and 4th year. Like he said, and we were talking about mentors, and I'm sure Brandon would be open to, you know, hearing you guys out with any questions you guys have or any advice that you want from him. I see that he's trying to recruit heavily into ENT surgery or something. I don't know what's going on over here. But his contact information will be below in the description box, and I will have it after this video. But that about wraps up part 2 of this vlog series. The last part of this vlog series is coming up next. The link will be down below whenever it's available, but y'all stay tuned on my Instagram page, and that'll keep you updated through everything. So yeah, thank you for this section. Now we're gonna go on and talk about how Brandon matched to his top choice for residency programs.
Hey, she be killing this vlog, though.
Okay.
Killing it. Killing it.